What happened to you? Ruben, I'm in a situation here. We have to leave now.
Well, no, can we stay a couple more minutes?
But dude, no. This is serious. I just sharted.
I don't know what that means.
I tried to fart and a little shit came out. I just sharted. Right, now let's go.
You're the most disgusting person I've ever met in my life.
That's so funny to me. If you've never seen Along Came Polly, it's hilarious. Underappreciated movie. Okay? It's like the people that have seen it, they're like, yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. A lot of great actors in it. A lot of great scenes. Jennifer Aniston's in there. Anyway, and the reason why I played that soundbite is because I got bubble guts, okay? I just went out and said it. I'm sorry. I drank a whole bunch of coffee this morning, and I was like, you know what will be great to top that off? Let's throw a bunch of leftover meat in a tortilla and make a breakfast burrito. That's what I did this morning. 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I made a bad life choice. I did. Oh, no. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know what's going to happen. I may poo myself by the end of this show. I don't know. But if you hear me in the middle of this, or if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever, Twitch, wherever the hell I posted the video, if you see me getting all sweaty or hear me getting all sweaty and just all of a sudden going, oh God. If you hear that, okay, just pray for me, please. That's all I'm saying. And this episode is brought to you by Fresh Clean Underwear. Oh, yeah, make sure you have some handy because you don't know when you're going to do a dandy. Whatever dandy is. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. I just gave you a lot of too much information, and I apologize. But I will tell you this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And remember, today's show is presented to you by Bet Online. In fact, Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Boy, that was a great first week and I know there's Monday Night Football tonight, but fuck that. It was a great first weekend of NFL and college football, which we'll get into in a minute. But man, it was fun. Football's back. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. But if you think you know your stuff, you need to get in on Bet Online's $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. Now, when the games are all over, make your way over to their online casino, get in on the game of blackjack or poker, or you could even unwind with one of their over 150 slot games. Go to betonline.ag right now. Again, betonline.ag to get in on the action. It's Bet Online. The game starts here. And speaking of starting, let's do this. We need it. You need it. I need it. I need you. You need me. Let's cuddle. Let's get into some headlines.
Let's go! Let's go!
And now, here are the headlines.
I'm done. I'm sorry. If you're watching college football, listen, if you're not a college football fan, you probably heard the rumblings of this anyway. And this is an interesting situation for the Colorado Buffaloes. Obviously, Deion Sanders, a big entity that was brought in. This is his second season, and he's changed the program for the better. As far as there's a lot more dollars going into the university, which is great. But the problem is, with all the newfound attention, with all the new finances being poured into the University of Colorado, the problem is their football team is still below good. They're not even they're not good. They're not even okay. They're just And a good reason is if you watch the game against Nebraska, that was this last Saturday's game. They're in Lincoln, Nebraska, taking on the Cornhuskers. It's a rowdy environment, and their defense was freaking jacked. The entire game, the Cornhuskers brought the fucking heat, okay? And to make things worse, the Colorado Buffaloes still have a pile of shit for an offensive line. I don't know how anybody could defend that offensive line as far as vocally be like, no, they're not that bad. Yeah, they are that bad. They had a tough time in the first week against North Dakota State. No knock on North Dakota State. But then when you take a bigger step up and you take on Nebraska, you just get freaking pummeled. And here's the crazy thing, guys. The two, I guess you got maybe like 3 or 4 big weapons, but the two big names on the CU Buffs, especially on offense, is Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, Deion's son, who's a really good quarterback. Okay, he's very accurate. And also Travis Hunter, wide receiver / DB. And here's what sucks. As bad as the CU Buffs are right now, wait till next year. They're going to be even worse because those two guys, Shedeur and Travis, are headed to the NFL. This team will be a complete dumpster fire next year. And I will be surprised if Deion Sanders sticks with the program. As much as I don't want him to leave because he's bringing so much attention, he's not really improving the football team. He's not. You have two great players, essentially. I feel like a dick saying that because there are Horns really good. There's a lot of good players on the CU Buffs. But the problem is you can have a bunch of stars on your team, but if you don't have a well-built team, that doesn't matter. If Shedeur Sanders can't throw the fucking ball because he's on, constantly running for his life, I mean, what does it fucking matter? Their offensive line is trash. And that's just reality, guys. Anybody that is just like, no, they're college players, you shouldn't say that they're trash. Okay, what do you want me to call them? Because they're not good. They're not good. They're not doing well enough. And Shedeur can't throw the ball to anybody. It's a joke. In fact, Shannon Sharpe was, I guess Shannon has like 5 different, I don't know. I don't even know. He has a bunch of podcast versions of himself. But anyway, he said this on, I believe it was either Saturday night or Sunday in regards to Deion Sanders' CU Buffs team.
I see why politicians get elected because people like being lied to. When I tell you the truth that Colorado can't run the football, just like they couldn't run it last year. They couldn't stop the run, just like they couldn't stop it last year. They couldn't protect Shedeur, just like they couldn't last year. He's holding on to the ball too long, just like he did last year. Oh, how did you not look at that first game and see a lot of what happened last year? How could you see it had not reared its head? And I'm not saying that North Dakota State, that's a football team, and we're going to talk about Notre Dame, how they lost to Northern Illinois, and we see Alabama was in a nip-tuck ball game late in the fourth quarter and then blow it open. So I'm not saying that. But when you look at an FCS team and they're having success running the football, they're having success putting pressure on your quarterback, what happens when you step up in level of competition? When you go and you face teams in the Big 12, what do you think they're going to do?
They're going to beat the shit out of you. That's what happens. Guys, it's not going to get any easier for the CU Buffs. I guess in a way I believe they play CSU this upcoming weekend, and that's a rivalry game. And to be honest, that could go either way too. Even though CU probably is a better football team. Listen, if I were to put money on it right now, if I were to go over to Bet Online right now, I would put money on the CU Buffs beating the Colorado State Rams. But to be honest, that's not a fully confident bet. When you look at how they're just getting continuously more and more exposed on their weaknesses and how those weaknesses aren't being improved on. Think about your business. If you constantly have this weak spot in your business platform, whatever it is. Like, you guys, who knows? What depends what you guys do. Let's say you're in construction and you guys do really well. You build really great houses, but you have, a shit roofer or you have a shit foundation guy. It doesn't matter how good those walls are. You got a shit roof or a shit foundation. Guess what? You got a shit house. And that's what the CU Buffs are. They got a shit house right now. And Deion and folks aren't doing enough to rebuild and build properly to have a good competitive team. They lucked out against North Dakota State. They did. And they were just pummeled by Nebraska. That could have been a lot worse, to be honest. They have a piss poor defense, and they got an even worse offensive line. And it's one of those things where it's like I like Deion. I like what he does. I feel like when I watch him on his press conferences, it's just, I mean, I feel like he has the right mentality, I think. And the way he projects himself is that he's not a yeller or, not a screamer, and he's not trying to rip people apart as from the outside looking in. You might hear some rumors swirling around the locker room about like, no, he's kind of a degrading dick or whatever. But until we're actually in there, it's really hard to take those, words as fact. But that doesn't matter. The point is, I think it's a great idea what he's doing. But the problem is it's not being executed, and they're getting embarrassed. They need to fix the problem. And I'm hesitant to believe that Deion is going to be in for the long haul with the CU Buffs to fix the problem. I feel like this is just a quick platform for him to help Shedeur get into the NFL, have a career, and obviously help Travis Hunter get into the NFL as well. It's an embarrassing time for the CU Buffs. As much as I root for them, and as much as I appreciate what Deion is, listen, I'm watching his press conferences every single week, and it's just, I feel like ultimately his heart is in the right place. I just don't think that the actions are going in the right direction. And something needs to change. It's only his second season. That's true. But will he be here next year? That's like my biggest question mark. Also, he does have health problems too. So it might be one of those things where he's getting a lot of attention and a lot of money generated into the program, and he might not be here next year or the year after. We'll see. I would like to see things start turning around. That I'm not seeing that. If they go up against CSU and just beat the snot out of CSU, I'll be glad. Okay, that'll be their second win. But they need to keep moving forward. Right now, they're moving backwards. You can't do that. You can't get to your destination if you're going backwards. So let's see. We'll see what they do. Now, during the game, it was probably the fourth quarter, Matt wrote into me via dehuffpodcast@gmail.com. He said, CU deserves a good old-fashioned ass whooping by Nebraska. We grew up losing to those bug-eating motherfuckers. So when we finally beat those redneck fuckers, it meant something. Conference realignment changes shit. I'll always hate but respect Nebraska. Prime should maybe understand the history of CU. Yeah, I part of me wonders, like what you're saying, Matt, is do you think that they fully understood the emotions, the history of CU Nebraska? And because sometimes that helps. Like we're talking about the CSU game. It's a rivalry match. Okay? That's what you need to have going in. If that's the extra fuel you need to step up your game by fueling that fire. But it doesn't feel like he was pouring gasoline on this matchup. Feel like if anything, maybe, yeah, I understand. And he's just flicking match heads over at the game. It's like, it's not really, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It didn't feel like. So I see what you're saying. It's just, I don't feel like the energy was amped up as much as it should have. But, okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. What I want to see is moving forward, you amp up your shit. And to be honest, real quick, as a coach, there's only so much you can do. Ultimately, it's up to your players. That's the other thing that Deion was saying. He's like, we practice all these things. We worked on all these things during practice. It just wasn't executed. And it's like if you're a manager, you're telling your employee, this is how you do it. These are the procedures. And then you go in the next day and you got all these emails. So-and-so didn't do the procedures. They neglected to do this, this, and this. And you're like, we went over this. How did you? I don't know, man. I spaced it, or I thought I did it. There's only so much you can do as a coach. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink type of situation. But then you sit there and you go, how long of a leash does he get? What's his past look like, Deion? Because I feel like it's mid-season. If they're not at least looking like they're improving, like they could lose out, but if they're fucking battling and their offensive line is improving and their defense is improving, I mean, maybe you can give them a pass for another season, but eventually it's just like, well, how long do you wait? How badly does the house need to burn before you start to put out the fire? We'll see. I root for Prime. I do. I want to see Deion Sanders and the CU Buffs football team do well. But the problem is they're not moving in the proper direction. They're going backwards. So I want to see the CU Buffs fix their shit and start moving forward. Bo Nix struggled in his debut as a starter in the NFL. That's not really that surprising. But when I was watching the game, it was a little concerning where you could tell he was rattled. And we kind of discussed it, at least in my preview, where the noise in Seattle is, it's comparable to Kansas City, Arrowhead. It's a tough place to play. Those fans are just, they're amped up. And for his first game, there's a losing history for people at Lumen's Field in Seattle for rookie quarterbacks. They don't do well. I want to say it's like 4-17, 4-18, something like that for rookie quarterbacks getting their start in getting a start in Lumen's Field. So it's not an easy place. And he was throwing the balls not very accurately, at least not in the first three quarters. Fourth quarter, it looked like he went into that shit mode, like, oh shit mode. And he blocked out all that sound and he was a little bit more accurate. But even like his interceptions, his last interception, the announcers knew it was bad before the defender caught it. Like, it was like, you could hear him go, oh, no. It's like, oh, shit. He was just making some bad decisions, and he wasn't placing the ball where it needed to go. There was way too many times where the ball was way behind the receiver. So that has to change. Obviously, he needs to to calm himself. And the good thing is the next game's here in Denver. So it should be a lot calmer for him, because the good thing about when Peyton Manning came here to Denver, he trained the audience, essentially, the fans. When the Broncos are on offense, if you're in the crowd, shut your mouth. So that way the calls can be clear and it doesn't screw up anything, right? And do you guys remember that when it was like he was training people, like, shut the fuck up, shut up. So that's good for Bo Nix. He needs that. Okay. And I know it sounds stupid to say, but for his ultimate career, it's good that he had a bad first game so he can learn from it, as long as he learns from it, which he seems like he's a dude that learns from his mistake. So he learns from that. He should have a much easier time against the Steelers as far as the atmosphere goes. Okay, he's at home. It's still going to be a challenge. He still needs to work his ass off this week, and he still needs to execute on Sunday. So who knows how it's going to roll out, but I have a lot more confidence in Bo Nix going into this game against the Steelers. I picked the Broncos to beat the Seahawks, but part of that was just me being a homer. Let's be honest. That's what I wanted to see. I was picking with hope versus intelligence. I think, based on the issues that the Steelers are having with quarterback, they got Justin Fields starting. He started yesterday, and I believe he did well. In a sense, I wish that somehow, some way, Russell Wilson came in and just kind of fucked up the system. And that would be great, because the fans would just go ape shit if Russell goes out there and takes a snap. That would be fucking awesome. I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows? Real quick, I put a Twitter poll out there. Let me find it real quick. And the Bronco fans are kind of mixed on this when it comes to Bo Nix and what he did. And I was actually pretty shocked, especially on Facebook. A bunch of idiots go, sorry, I'm calling you an idiot. That's the fact. Oh, Bo Nix should never have started. They should have pulled him and put Zach Wilson in there. Blah, blah, blah. What are you fucking doing? No. Yes, leave him in there. So I wrote on Twitter for a Twitter poll. I said, how are you feeling after week 1, Broncos country? Optimistic, angry, happy, tingly. So happy is trailing at 2.1%. Tingly, 11.3%. But the real ones, angry, 29.6%, and optimistic, 57.1%. That's not that bad. But when you start reading some of the comments from people are just like, Bo Nix is trash, or Sean Payton doesn't know what the fuck he's doing type of thing. That's the stuff that's concerning. It's like we're such a shit needs to be happening now type of situation, a society. That needs to stop. We need to give things time. Let them breathe. Let them develop. But we're so like, no, I need to be satisfied now. Something that was tossed around a lot yesterday after the Broncos lost. Guys, remember, John Elway's first game, he only threw for like 18 yards and was benched. Okay? That shit happens. But it depends on the individual. How do you react to that as the individual getting benched? Same thing at your job. You get reprimanded for something. Do you sit there and sulk about it and just sink into your seat of pity? Or do you actually nut up and pull up your bootstraps and go forward and learn from your mistakes? It's up to you. And it's up to Bo Nix to go, I'm either going to sit here and hang out in Pity City, or I'm going to go forward and get better. I believe he's going to get better. 11 Charlie wrote, defense was better than I expected. Absolutely. They kept them in that game. And Nick showed some promise at the toughest position in sports. Also, the Puget Sound Bitch pigeons can suck it. Yeah, bitch pigeons. I love that. I love that. Here's some interesting things. I know you can't really put too much weight on stats. I know, but it is interesting to look at. So looking at Bo Nix's numbers, he was 26 of 42, threw it a lot. That I don't like that. They need to get that run game going. He did throw for 138 yards. Here's a problem. Averaged 3.3 yards per pass. That's not good as far as completion. Excuse me. You can't do that. That's not good enough. They need to take a little bit more, there's way too many throwing to the running back just straight out of the backfield. And like that's no. The fuck are you doing? You got to change it up. Here's the thing. Seattle was swarming. Why would you at least take a shot over the middle? More of those versus this whole shit of, hey, you're a yard behind the line of scrimmage. I'm going to throw to you. No, fuck that. 3.3 yards. No, he had 2 interceptions. He was sacked twice, and his rating was 47.5. Now, looking at the other rookie quarterbacks, Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears was 14 of 29. He had 93 yards passing, averaged 3.2 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had a rating of 55.7. Essentially worse, but I guess his rating was slightly better. The best of the bunch was Jaden Daniels as far as rookie quarterbacks getting their start. He was 17 of 24 with the Commanders, 184 yards. He averaged 7.7 yards. Okay, that's better, so much better. I believe he ran for 2 touchdowns. Nix ran for 1 touchdown, so that was a good thing. And his rating was 93.1. Okay, so when you compare it, Caleb Williams had a shit day. Listen, even though Jaden Daniels had a better day than Nix and Caleb Williams, it still wasn't that great. Okay, we're reading too much into game 1. The problem is, where are we at in week 4? Is Bo Nix progressing? If he is, that's great. If he's not, that's a problem. Going over to Twitter, El Papa Grande DBU said Denver is going to be a 6-win team, maybe 7. Yesterday was not unexpected. Bo was just fine. The thing that you can take away from that game is he did seem to evolve in the middle of the game. He did make some mistakes, some bonehead mistakes. And to be honest, he could have had like 5 interceptions. He could have. Because there were some of them, you're like, what the fuck are you doing, Bo Nix? No, bad. Go sit in the corner. No, naughty. But it is what it is. There's a lot of nerves to be playing in front of a crowd like that. David wrote, TJ Watt is licking his chops right about now. As long as the Broncos O-line stands firm, I believe Nix will be okay. Matt OFP said our yakless Broncos may actually be our death knell. Yeah, they're yak, if you don't know, yards after catch. That is just terrible. Terrible. And that's mostly play calling. And that shit's got to change. And also, I was talking about it last week. I was like, you got to work in the run game. You don't have a run game. You're one-dimensional. And that's way too much pressure to put on a young quarterback. Don't do that. Ramon said this game was moving too fast for Bo yesterday. It will get better. I think there's a lot of us that are in the same boat when it comes to Bo Nix. It will get better. Here's the thing. When you compare the CU Bus football team to the Denver Broncos, who do you have more faith in to evolve and get better during the season? The Buffs or the Broncos? I believe in the Broncos that they can get better. I believe that Bo Nix will get better. I don't have much faith in the CU Bus football team right now. I don't. But I do have faith in the Denver Broncos. I'd like to be wrong about the Buffs. I would like them to develop, and next thing you know, like 3 weeks from now, everybody's going, wow, where did this team come from? That whole Nebraska situation in week 2 was just a fluke. This team is on fire. I want that to happen. Don't believe it's gonna. Don't. Could we say that about the Broncos? Week 4? Shit, watch out for the Broncos. Bo Nix, he's legit. I feel like that's more believable of a scenario. We will see. Hey, I'm doing this thing, and it's great because I've been talking to a few potential clients now in regards to this, and it's great because there's no middleman when you want to be a sponsor on this show, which is great. I get to promote small business on this. It could be a big business, but most likely it's going to be small business. And it's a lot of fun because the DeHuff Uncensored podcast is the #1 ranked comedy podcast in the state of Colorado. It's really such an honor to say that. It's because I have amazing listeners. And right now, what I'm doing to say thanks to the listeners and thanks to potential sponsors is give everybody a deal because we're going into the holiday season. Life is tight when it comes to finances. I get it. Trust me, I get it. So I want to cut you guys a break and introduce new sponsors to my listeners. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm having a sponsorship special. I'm cutting my rates in half. I'm cutting them in half. Woo! Pew, pew. Laser beams everywhere. From now until October 31st of 2024, if you and your business commit to a 2-month trial, you could be a proud sponsor of the #1 comedy podcast in Colorado at half the cost. So what you got to do is shoot me an email, dehuffpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll give you more details. Your company's message will be projected to the world via all podcast audio platforms, plus video on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And obviously, it's a major focus. I say the world, but it's a major focus in the Denver metro area. To be honest, that's where my bread and butter is. It's got a lot of people here in the Denver metro area. Now, with over 20 years in Denver media, you know I'm just not another podcast. I've been doing this. What is this, episode 619? I'm not fucking around. This is what I do. I have a lot of fun doing it. And it's, I'm not, listen, I'm not talking about slobbering on people's knob and doing like 5, maybe 10 episodes, then calling it a day. No, I'm not doing that. I'm in it for the long haul. And I get the advertising budgets can be slim. I do. It's tough out there. That's why I'm cutting you and your company a break. You're welcome. You're welcome. So the half-off sponsorship rates are for you if you want to commit to a 2-month trial by October 31st, 2024. Shoot me an email, dehuffpodcast@gmail.com, and let's get this thing rolling. All right, so I'm kind of, okay, we're done. We're done with the sports talk, okay? We'll move on to some funnerest things, okay? That's a word, right? Right? No? This comes in from Mike. He said, hey, fuckers. He said, T-shirts in the bio. If you don't recall, that's what I was saying. My how I should start my episode one day is just be like, hey, fuckers. He said, hey, DeHuff, can you talk about that NASA weather balloon over northern Colorado? It happened on Friday, right as I hit stop on the episode on Friday. I saw that Mike had sent me this. So, Mike, I apologize I didn't get to it sooner. But what was funny is there was a weather balloon over Colorado. And it's, listen, when you zoom in on the picture of it, it's clear as day that it's a weather balloon. It's not a UFO. Some people were being dumb, be like, oh my God, it's a UFO. There's a UFO up there. Oh God, take me, alien. I don't want to pay off my car debt. It's it's funny because I think most people were like, it's not that big of a deal. But you did see the spark of random people freaking out. Be like, dude, the government needs to take control of this shit. I'm tired of all these UFO sightings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, when you research what it is, the balloon is part of a stratolite high-altitude balloon system. That's according to Worldview Enterprises. The company said the balloon is carrying a payload for NASA that is measuring solar radiation in the stratosphere above the 40th parallel for up to 2 weeks. The company said that the balloon was launched from northern Arizona last Saturday. I'm just, in a way, I'm glad, but then I'm also disappointed that we didn't just waste thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on shooting it down with some F-16. Why didn't that happen? Come on, just to be safe. Come on. Could you imagine? Wasn't that weird? Was that last year when we were shooting down weather balloons? But then we let the one spy balloon just go all over the fucking place? That made no fucking sense. No fucking sense. But going back to the whole alien thing, listen, we've talked about aliens on this show before. We've dedicated episodes to it before. There's a study that came out that said when people are constantly talking about aliens and blaming things on aliens and assuming that aliens are a thing, this is what it says. It's no longer a quirk, but a widespread societal problem. The belief is slightly paradoxical. What an asshole. First of all, what kind of dickhead uses paradoxical in a sentence? Fucking nerd. As we have zero evidence that aliens even exist. That's according to Tony Mulligan, a research fellow in the philosophy of ethics at King's College in London. Oh, he's one of those guys. Hello, aliens aren't real. I know this because I'm from London. Fucking dick. What's more, given the vast distances between star systems, it seems odd we'd only learn about them from a visit. Evidence for aliens is more likely to come from signals from faraway planets. It is increasingly clear that belief in alien visitation is no longer just a fun speculation, but something that has real and damaging consequences. First of all, let me say this about what he was talking about. He's talking about the likelihood of aliens coming from a distant galaxy or distant planet isn't very logical. I agree. That's why there's a lot of people that are going, okay, yes, but we also have evidence, or quote unquote evidence, of these UFOs coming out of the water. There's a good chance, given the fact that most of the planet is covered in water, that there's somehow, somewhere under the water. So I'm just saying, we're sitting there looking out when we should be looking in. And I'm not the only one that thinks that way. It seems very logical that could be the case. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually quote unquote aliens. It could be something that is in a weird way related to us human beings. They just evolved differently and whatever. I don't know. Listen, it's all hypothetical. All I know is there's a lot of weird sightings that I've never actually seen for myself. Okay? As much as I thought I was going to throw up. I just hiccuped, and I'm like, there's like a half a second where I'm like, oh no! The thing, I don't even know where I was at. I was at because I almost puked. That was so weird. I feel like it's right in my chest, and it's like working its way up, and it's like that burrito that I ate earlier is just like, I'm gonna escape.
What the fuck?
No, you will not escape, you son of a bitch. You will stay in there. You will not leave my tummy.
Right, as always.
I don't know why you said that, Ken. I really don't know why you said that. Fuck. I don't know. It's fascinating when you start thinking about aliens. I've never seen one for myself. I would like to see some like a UFO for myself, but I haven't. So that's where I'm still like, it's kind of like ghosts. Until I see something for myself, I just don't. I have a hard time really accepting it as a full on belief. And I know that bugs some people because you could put God into that category. But the way I look at it is ghosts. Yes, I have had some weird experiences. I have one the other day where I wake up in the middle of the night in my room and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, why the fuck did I just wake up? And then all of a sudden I hear one of my kids saying, "Hey, Dad," and I'm like, what the fuck? It's like 2:00 in the morning. And I get up, nobody's awake, right? And it was like she was in my room, and that bugs me. It bugs me because I can't explain that other than it could have been my mind playing tricks on me. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I wasn't as awake as I thought it was, or maybe it's something mimicking family members. I don't know, but it bugs me. But that being said, I haven't seen anything physically. I haven't seen something where I could just totally 100% go, that's unexplainable. Okay? If all of a sudden I just see a naked ghost in the corner, I'll believe it. I'm just saying, lady ghost, if you're naked in the corner, I'll believe it. Otherwise, I won't believe it. It's kind of like that with UFOs. Like, I want to believe. I see some evidence where I'm like, I have no idea what that is. But also, real quick, when it comes to the UFO stuff, like technology is so fucking advanced right now as far as AI and whatnot. You can't trust anything unless you see it with your eyes. And still, when you see it with your eyes, you're probably going to have some doubt. So I kind of understand what this snobby scientist philosopher guy is saying is, you don't go dumping everything in there just because, you want it to be true and it would be nice if it were true. He's just saying the science doesn't really back it up unless you put into the equation of, uh, you know, then explain to me how it could be possible. Like if I ever get a chance to sit down with Neil deGrasse Tyson, I know he doesn't believe in ghosts and stuff like that. But what I would ask him is, okay, but what I would like you to do is scientifically explain to me how it could be possible for ghosts to exist or how aliens could exist. How would that what would need to occur for, let's start with ghosts. How could that, what is the science that would need to exist? What would the logic be to have ghosts actually exist? I would like him to explain that. And it just because I think it would be fascinating. Like what elements need to be in place for that to be a thing scientifically? And how would you explain scientifically what would need to occur for aliens to exist? Because if you think about it, if they traveled from far fucking away, it doesn't really make that much sense. But if it's something that's closer to home, yeah. So what would need to be taking place for them to be a I don't even know how you would say it, submariner type society. listen to me trying to sound smart, but I'm not. So if they're submerged underwater and they exist underwater and they had colonies somehow underwater, how would that exist? What would they need? What technology would they need? What kind of adaptations for their body would need to exist in order for them to reach depths that are essentially undetectable by us? I don't know. It would be fascinating for somebody that was really smart to sit there and try to justify it and be like, okay, we say it can't happen, but here's how it could happen, if that makes sense. I think that would be fascinating. Real quick, let's jump into the mailbag.
Mailbag. You've got mail.
This comes in from Sack Swinger. Sack Swinger has the best handle on fucking social media. I love that. It's actually not his handle. That's his nickname, I guess you could say. Either way, it's funny. He posted a picture of the new McFlurry box, which they've been kind of teasing, I want to say since last year, but they're really starting to make their way around the United States. So it's these new McFlurry containers. He said, I never eat this crap, but it's trending. The new McFlurry design. Save the planet and guaranteeing you won't live long enough to see the results all at once. And I wrote back with, because it doesn't have a lid, right? It just basically has the paper that kind of folds over onto the over the lid, so things can't spill out as easily. Then I wrote, how is this better for the environment? There's no plastic lid, yes, but isn't the spoon made of plastic? Or am I missing something? And he responded back with, green marketing mostly. I'm not a climate denier, but I recognize manipulation. It looks cooler, in my opinion. But like you said, that spoon is evil plastic. Listen, I can appreciate that they're trying to get rid of the lids. That's fine. It's steps, but kind of like you said, we're not going to see the results of it. I'm surprised that there's not more desire to, because isn't like hemp, can't that be made into like a plastic substitute? It just doesn't have as long of a shelf life, God forbid. So they can't use that for soda that can sit on the shelves for fucking years. But there's other ways that they could use it in other products, like lids for restaurants. And, the design essentially stays the same. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. I'm sure they will eventually. But yeah, it's funny. I'm not a huge McDonald's person. That's like, I'm talking about bubble guts today. And that's something that would give me bubble guts every single time I go in there. And sometimes I like to, you make the mistake and you go into McDonald's and you get a double quarter pounder with cheese. Oof. Or I get the hot and spicy McChicken. Those are good. But I always regret it afterwards. And the only reason I go there is because I have 2 young kids. And every now and then we go in there. But real quick, before all you negative dickheads go, oh, you're a bad parent. You're feeding your kids junk. You might as well just pour poison down their throat. No, fuck off. We cook at home 99% of the time. We do. Maybe this week we'll go out to eat, but usually we it's really nice, actually. We're in such a good routine with it that we're eating our leftovers, which is great. And the kids are, it's a matter of like refurbishing the leftovers and not just eating the leftovers. You kind of twist them around and make something different with them. It's nice, and that we're getting the kids involved in it. So we're trying to get them in the habit of not relying on the quick option, the easy option of going out to eat. But we do it, especially with school functions. They do a lot of, support the school, show up on this night between this time at, say, Chick-fil-A or something like that, and money will go towards the PTO and stuff like that. We'll do that. But ultimately, we try not to eat out. We try not to. And part of that is like they put so much shit in the food. It's just if you eat something and you're like you immediately regret it and you feel shameful, probably not the best place to eat. Probably not. Ugh. So gross. I don't like the McFlurry that is probably fucking expensive now. My wife, I talk about how we don't eat out, and then my wife, she got a breakfast bagel. So there was like eggs and whatever in it yesterday before my son's baseball game. And she's like, she sits down next to me at the ball field and she's like, this was fucking $8. I was like, whoa, $8 for a bagel sandwich? Yeah, that's the times we live in. By the way, my son and his team just it was great. They were down by a couple runs, came back. The final score that was posted was they won 12-4, and they were down by, I want to say, like 2 runs at one point. So good for them. They fought back. My son had another amazing game. He's in it. He's in his groove right now. And I don't want to say anything. I don't even want to cheer for him that much. I say if you go to a game and you hear somebody go, let's go JD, or JD, something like that, that's what I do every single time he's up. I don't say anything else. I let the coaches coach, which is a hard thing to let go of, but I have to trust in the coaches and let them do their thing. And I realize it's more confusing if I'm telling them one thing, the coach is telling them something else. I just try to step back and make sure I tell him, hey, you do your thing. I say that before every game. Excuse me, before every game now. He gives me a hug. I say, go have fun and do your thing. I don't say anything else. I don't say, hey, focus on this or focus on that. He knows. He's been told all the tricks, all the things to do. And his bat came alive this season in fall ball. And it's fucking wild. And I'm just sitting back enjoying it. And so is my wife. It's great. And the whole team is gelling. It's really neat to see kids in this age bracket, like 10, 11 years old, just really locked in. They're having a great fucking time. And they're winning. As of right now, they're winning. And I know from years past, that can change. It can change in a blink of an eye. It can happen in an inning where all of a sudden things don't go your way. But right now, they got an amazing group of kids and great coaches, and everybody's just sitting back having a good time. So if you ever see me at the ball field and you're like, dang, DeHuff doesn't cheer for his kid when he's going up to bat. No, I wait until he hit the ball, hits the ball, then I cheer. Then I almost lose my voice. But I don't want to distract him while he's at the plate, because he's feeling it right now, and whatever is going through his mind is working. And it's weird because he's like fucking laying it out. It's great. And he's only going to get better. And his team is just really good group of kids. So it's fun. And they're all doing great. I don't want to just brag about my son. The whole group of kids is cool. Not that you care. Fuck you. Okay? Get off my back. Eat a dick. Jerks. Anyway, thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. What? I'm a proud father. Could you imagine if I was up here going, well, I don't want to talk about him. Fuck him. No, screw that. No, I'm excited for him and his team. They're all doing great, and they all should be proud of themselves. And that I make sure it sounds sappy, but shoot, man, confidence is a big deal, and he's got it right now, and so does his team. Nobody's scared of the ball right now, and that's fantastic. They're all kicking ass and taking names. It's really cool. Thanks for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thanks for listening. If you could give it a nice review. If you give me a bad review, I will hunt you down.
I'm not kidding.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Big thanks to Bet Online. Go check them out at betonline.ag. It's DeHuff Uncensored. You guys are amazing. Let's continue to move forward. Don't be like the Buffs and move backwards. Let's move forward. And I'll talk to you next time.